Calling to order at 6:32, Sherry?
Mhm.
Thank you.
Noted.
So, I don't know, Marie, our parliamentarian isn't here, so I'm just gonna ask Karen this right now. As far as the housing discussion is concerned, can you still talk a little bit to us about what happens when people come to the senior center in need of housing or
I
looking?
can. So housing is probably the hardest part of this job because there's just not a great solution. I wish I had better news to report.
Can we leave it, leave it on the agenda where it was, and then I just want to know if if you would go ahead and talk about it without more. I know.
Yeah. So basically, we do have people that come to us to talk about housing, or what we see a lot of is somebody who's lived in a below market value apartment that's, in-law suite or an apartment in a house, and the house is being sold
Yeah,
and they're having to move on. That's one of the, I feel like we have that, not a lot, but that's one of the more common things that we get. We have your standard people who come and want to move into senior housing eventually. So we have them either meet with Beth or we refer them to housing to fill out the housing applications. So that would be for state and federal.
and for Carol's sake, just tell us who Beth is, in case she doesn't know, or we don't know. Who's Beth?
Beth Greenberg is our social worker here in the senior center. So she is our outreach coordinator. She has two jobs. She works for Wakefield Housing Authority full time, and she comes here from 1 to 4, and she does outreach here in the senior center. So she does help people with their applications, although sometimes we just send them straight to housing. They're all electronic now, so our tech savvy seniors can do them at home, and if they can't, then we can have Beth help them here in the senior center. Because they're fairly lengthy, although it's a lot of the same information. So once they gather the information, you just have to repopulate it in the different applications. And for the state housing CHAMP, it's all the universal application. And I'm going to let Maureen talk more to this because this is her wheelhouse once they get to housing. We do warn people frequently, and we are going to have housing come out in the fall and do a talk about housing. They were at our resource fair. Though there's not a lot of senior housing. So if you think you might want to move into housing in 5 to 10 years, now's the time to put your name on the wait list, because there are thousands of people on the wait list, and it's a universal wait list. So somebody who lives in Wakefield can put their name on multiple communities. So we share with people what the reality of housing is. Beth will sit down with somebody also if they come in to talk about housing and just go over options with them. So we try and assess, are you a veteran? Because maybe we could help you get some veteran benefits. Do you have family members that you could possibly move in with in the short term until you find something else? Or have you considered looking at other locations? What keeps you in Wakefield? Is it employment? Is it transportation? So to try and help people steer them in the right direction of where they might be able to look, because sadly there's not enough affordable housing. There's not a lot of 55 and over affordable communities. All the ones that are coming are high-end luxury 55 plus communities. So that's, if somebody can afford it, there's lots of options. If you can't afford it, there's not. So we do our best to try and to absolutely get the applications filled out, but then to try and help them think of alternate solutions.
Yeah, I know it's a big problem. I know it's a big. And can you tell us? I know there's a fair number of single room occupancy people in Wakefield. Is that something for Maureen maybe to talk about?
She could talk about the housing that we have. So we have congregate housing over at Lincoln Street. That first floor is congregate housing, and then the second and third, I think there's 3 floors. The second and third floor are single bedroom, or our small efficiency units. We're lucky that we have federal housing too. So 101 Broadway, Crystal View, that's federal housing. And then we have Harts Hill, which is your typical state housing. And then we have Harts Hill Heights, which is like a partnership thing with Mystic Valley. But Maureen would have to talk to more. I don't know I don't know how the wait lists work or how a lot of it works. I know there's a little bit less flexibility than there used to be with, if we have, say, a homeless senior, can we get them to the top of the list of where the priority list is for the number 1 rating. But we have worked with housing in the past when we did have a homeless senior that we were able to get into Hearts Hill. So what we would do is if we have somebody, we would also help them with the applications, but do a warm handoff to Wakefield Housing to say, you know, Mrs. X is going to be without housing in 3 months, and see what they can do to help it, or if there's anywhere they can go. We always encourage people to check all the boxes that you think you could possibly live in, because we have some housing, but other communities have more, especially if you
Yeah.
go more like Somerville and places like that. Merrimack Valley, they have some more. So
Western,
it's
yeah.
hard. I wish I had better answers, but it's hard, and I don't know what the right solution is, but we are going to have to keep as a society figuring it out, because
Well, it's not just
there's not
Wakefield.
enough places to go.
Yeah. Not just Wakefield, it's the whole state really, but especially Eastern Mass, all over really. And then even when there is housing, the cost of it is. So in terms of our day-to-day lives though, as, you know, as board members, et cetera, we're out and about. Is it appropriate for somebody that needs housing help is it appropriate to refer them to the senior center? Or is
Yeah,
there,
because we could at least help connect them. We could say, hey, let's get you started on filling out your housing application, or we can, I mean, that's the main thing, or we could sit down and talk to them about alternatives. We had a woman who similar happened. The house was sold and she ended up moving in with her daughter, but it was just talking her through all that. I potentially had a lead for her of another senior she could have moved in with. But she ended up wanting to go with her daughter. But I do wish we had I wish there was some way to develop some kind of a system, right? Like a roommate matching system almost, where
yeah,
you
yeah,
have a
yeah, yeah,
senior living in a big old house that
yeah,
maybe they'd be willing to bring in a roommate, but to have a safe way to match people so that you have
yeah,
somebody who
yeah.
does like the roommate matching, right? And you say, oh, I think you're compatible with this person. They're checked. They're safe for you to move in. Yeah. In
Or
my dream
some,
world, that would exist. And we could refer somebody to that to say, hey, this is a great way to help with isolation too, because then you have somebody that you can find some compatibility with that can move in and have companionship within the home and solve some of the housing crisis. But I don't know how that would ever. I don't know how to do that, but I think it would be a great thing if we could.
yeah, I do too. I do too. Like, does anyone have any specific questions, do you think, for Karen about housing in Wakefield that, um, or comments?
Can I ask a question? I guess I didn't realize that you had a social worker, so that's amazing. And sometimes the end result of housing is needing to go into a nursing home. But there's a whole nother application process for that, particularly if you're more Medicaid eligible than private pay. Same thing, you have more options if you're private pay than, but there's a whole application process. Is that part of seeking housing as well as doing the Medicaid application? Do you know?
I guess it probably should be, right? Beth would assess if it's somebody that would be somebody who would probably meet the criteria for a nursing home. I
Well,
guess the people I was thinking of before are more the people who come to the senior center or walk in or are not don't have any medical need for the nursing home. But yeah, she could help with that, and she does talk. Part of what she talks to people about are the different levels of assisted living. So hey, there's Brightview, 5-star, top rated, super expensive. But then there's maybe these ones in between that don't have quite all the bells and whistles, but that are more affordable than some of the others. So we have the book that the state sends out with all the facilities. So we can help people to go through that too and bring them in and say, okay, what are you looking for your loved one or for yourself? So that is part of her process, is talking about assisted living. And then the nursing home, I'll have to check with her to see how much she talks about that. We've helped people with that need the nursing home. And actually, one of the homeless people I'm talking about are people who temporarily didn't have housing, potentially could have been a candidate for that, but then we were able to
well,
secure her.
the Shine counselor should be able to help people with, mass health applications. There is a mass health application for long-term care. But it would seem that Mystic Valley, the area agency, it would seem that there may be an assessment, they might have, maybe, I don't know, I mean, Beth would know, I think. But it's
When
good.
we connect them to. So we would say, oh, are you already involved with Mystic Valley? And we have Mystic
Yeah,
Valley is actually
yeah.
coming here on Monday to help me with somebody who really, really urgently needs help with her mass health, because mass health is no longer showing her as a recipient, and she should be. She did everything right, but somehow the system has dropped her. So
Yeah.
Mystic Valley has people who can help with that directly. So somebody from Mystic Valley is coming over on Monday to meet with her here at the senior center. So we do those kind of things too. We connect people if we know, oh, hey, you urgently need something, I'll call Mystic Valley in, and they're there to help us.
And if I can just add the other thing, in the healthcare system, most primary care doctors' offices now have social workers attached to them. So if somebody does have medical needs, the primary care provider or physician will often refer them to the social worker, who will then do all those nursing home referrals, because there's a close relationship between the hospital and most of the local nursing homes. So if you ever need help or press up against that, I can certainly connect you to into the healthcare system, as much as I know it now that I've left it. But
Well,
I know that the system that I'm in, Atrius Health, every time I have any kind of medical appointment, and MGH too, on the input survey, they always ask about housing insecurity,
mhm.
right,
always now.
which is great. Yep, there's I believe it's a federal law now that the healthcare providers have to ask about what they call social determinants of health. And it includes things like housing insecurity, mental health, electricity, do you feel safe, etc. All those things that contribute to health that may not be what we typically think of, like high blood pressure. So they're screening for that now. The issue is, it's great that they're screening, but I'm still not convinced that if somebody screens in, that we've got a smooth system for making sure
Right.
that they get what they
Right.
need, but it's a start.
Right.
Yeah, and that's something Beth can help with too. So, and I'm curious to see what's going to come out with the Affordable Housing Trust and how they're going to use that, because Beth can also help with, like, oh, do we want to apply for RAF to get help with first and last month's rent? So she can help with those kind of things too. So we do help people in any way that we can and bring them in and see what can we do. So I guess that's part of the overall assessment of what are we looking for, where can we get them. The same with the veteran benefits. Can we get them that? Can we get them Voight fund emergency funding if we needed to? Excuse me.
Could you tell me a little bit about, I'm going to plead ignorance here, the Shine Counselor and what is the responsibilities of that person?
I'm going to let Susan answer because she is a
I
Shine
am a
counselor.
Shine counselor, not in Mystic Valley, but in IU. A Shine counselor, we are highly trained and volunteers, most of us. There are in kind, meaning that somebody who, is a staff person somewhere might be trained also and credentialed as a Shine counselor. But the Shine counselor, it stands for Serving the Health Information Needs, used to be the elderly, but now it's everyone. So we focus on Medicare, and whether it's Medicare for 65 plus or Medicare because you're SSDI or you are disabled and are able to receive Medicare. So we help people, like oftentimes the people that I meet with are people that are turning 65 and they're totally bewildered and they need to know what to do and what their options are. We don't sell, we don't recommend, we educate. But now, Karen mentioned Mass Health a little while ago, that a lot of the appointments in the past year have been, how do I put this gently, confused. Mass Health didn't recertify anybody during the pandemic years. There were 3 years when nobody got recertified on Mass Health because of the pandemic, and we didn't want to cut, the government didn't want to cut anybody off from healthcare. But now, a year ago or a little more, they started recertifying, and a lot of people got kicked off, like the person you're speaking of, Karen, I think. So there's been a lot of, we work with Mass Health, we help people fill out the various applications for Mass Health, and there are a number of different things, programs that Mass Health administers, at least that get applied for through Mass Health. It's not just Mass Health, period. There's layers and layers of public assistance. And most of the applications initially go through Mass Health. So it's our job as a Shine counselor to help someone, or to, sort of ask to find out enough information from the person to figure out what they might be eligible for. We don't determine eligibility, and we tell people that, we're not saying you're eligible, but we think this looks like a good shot. So we do that. We also, when it's time in the fall, when open enrollment comes, to people on Medicare and they have the option to change their plan for January if they want to. We get a lot of appointments for people who want to look at what their options might be. Well, a lot of times also they'll call us because their doctor's prescribed a new medication that isn't part of their plan's formulary. And they don't, it's not covered and it's an expensive drug and they need help with that. And we can help them figure out different ways to at least get some more coverage than what they have. It's not always complicated. Sometimes it's really difficult, but it's not always complicated. So any issues with Medicare and it really, that's the foundation is Medicare. So if somebody's not receiving Medicare or not in line to go for Medicare, we are not the people to contact. There are what are called navigators, healthcare navigators that exist. And I'm confess I don't know in Wakefield. I'm sure there's one at Melrose Wakefield Hospital that can help people. Carol, you might know about this, that can help people with other health plans, in addition to what's available through the Health Connector. If people can't navigate or don't know how to navigate that on their own, if you have to buy private insurance or you need subsidized help, you need to apply to Mass Health and you're not receiving Medicare. There are resources for that, but I just don't have them at my fingertips in the same way because Shine is really Medicare focused. Medicare eligible focused.
Thank you.
And there are one or two, right? You have Shine counselors sometime at the senior center, in Wakefield Senior Center.
We are. I'm excited to report that we're back to 2. We had
Oh,
had
good.
one for a
Okay.
very long time. She's
Great.
been very busy, so we have 2 again.
Good, okay. So they're there like what, half days, 2 half days or something?
And one does 2 appointments a week and the other one does 3. And they're willing to see somebody if we need to more urgently than that. They stay in close contact with the lead at Mystic Valley
Yeah.
too. So if we ever needed to, we could, when there was a little bit where we didn't have a Shine counselor for a month and then we reached directly out to Mystic Valley to connect the people with the Mystic Valley Shine counselors.
Yeah.
So
they're-
Susan, back to your question though, I thought it was a really good question. Is there anything that we as a board can do to advocate for people who need housing that are seniors in the town? I don't know what that avenue is. I'm just sort of asking, or is there any way just to promote the need? Not that we can make it happen materially, but just to promote the need and be supportive.
I
Well,
wish I
I
had.
wonder, is there a consortium of people who are working on housing for all ages? I don't know, in the town, maybe Maureen knows that
what's
there's
the affordable housing
the
coalition
affordable
or
housing.
something?
But even beyond affordable housing, because just as you were saying, Karen, sometimes there's people who drop into these very difficult situations. And then if you layer on extra complications like a healthcare need or a mental health need or a service animal or you name it. But I just wonder if there's something already going on in town where maybe seniors aren't well represented, or people are thinking more about, like when they talk about homelessness, usually seniors aren't at the top of that list. It's usually people with all kinds of issues. I don't know. Does anyone know if there's anything in Wakefield already? If not, I'm happy to try to find out.
I would think the food pantry does a fair amount of housing referral. They don't have the solution. But I'm sure, I know more about the Stoneham food pantry, but I know that a lot of the people that come into the food pantry in Stoneham need housing. And what about human services, Karen? Human services and
Yeah, so Jason Stone's over at the food pantry when they're open 2 days a week. He's there like in the morning and the afternoon on Tuesdays or Thursdays. He's there 3 different time blocks. So he makes some connections there with people who might need help and tries to connect them. Generally, if they're seniors, he can send them over to Beth, which is what we encourage him to do. And then we do the same thing. The Affordable Housing Trust, I'm not sure if that's going to come up with more. I wish I had the answer because I honestly don't know.
Well,
I don't
you
know if
don't,
Maureen
yeah.
will have more of one. Because it's a national problem. We talk about it every human services meeting or networking luncheon that I go to. across the board, that's everybody's, one of their number one concerns, or the one that, like, the nut that we just can't figure out how to crack, is housing. So I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. Wakefield, we're fortunate that we have as much subsidized as we do, which isn't very much, but it's more than some of our surrounding neighbors have. But yeah, I don't know. And it's something that
So
we
Carol,
do.
I'm wondering if I hear you volunteering
Mhm.
to do some research. You know,
I will.
I have some thoughts too, but which I'll send to you, or we can have, I don't know, this is not strictly Wakefield Senior Center business, so is it all right if we go offline and have a cup of coffee without?
Sure, absolutely. I mean,
Oh.
I was also thinking about the push for people to build accessory dwelling units,
Yeah.
you know, the ADUs, and whether people are thinking about them for seniors and building them in a way that's appropriate for seniors, and if we could have some impact there, or at least some input, maybe is a better word. So sure, I'll begin to see what's going on in Wakefield. I'm sure there's a lot already happening. That's why we don't want to reinvent the wheel, but
No,
we
it's just fact
have a
finding.
seat at the table.
Yeah,
I-
and Jen,
You may
Jen
want to
and
pick up a copy of, whoops, I read upside down, the Public Health and Human Services booklet that they have
It's hard to see
on
that
Common Street. I know.
It's hard to see it
Okay,
from Wakefield. Yep,
from
that's
town,
better.
okay.
okay, and inside it had, well, in the top, it has the Wakefield services, including how to contact Jason Stone, who
Yeah.
is the social services manager, the Veteran Services Office. I think also some of the domestic violence people might help with housing, especially with safe housing. I know I used to be
Shelters.
volunteering for Dove, and I went to them directly, but because I lived in Boston and I didn't know about other ones. But it also has local and national support services here, the different food pantries, and there is a whole section on housing/shelter. Unfortunately, not one of they're all neighboring communities. None of these housing shelter organizations happen to be here in Wakefield. But at least
and the
it's
shelters, not to be Debbie Downer, but the shelters are full. Like
Yeah.
some of the shelters, they'll say, like,
Yes.
if the lines opens at 4 o'clock, if you're not in line by 4:02, you're not going to get in. So
that's right.
and Amy, uh, Amy Rando and Jen Wozniak, I think I'm saying
Yes.
that correctly, of the
Mhm.
police department, are on the high risk team over there too. So and they do invite us to the table if they were having a high risk meeting. I know our veteran service officer gets invited as well if there was a senior that they were concerned about who was homeless. So we do stay in touch with them. They reach out to us, we reach out to them. So there is communication if we have
You know,
somebody that we're concerned about.
I mean, we know the senior center can't, your flip plate is so full already, Karen, and there's so many wonderful things happening there. I can't do everything. So it's, so if we can, we, the board, can not to become the senior center staff, but can do some work around the edges, information gathering. And one of the things that I have run into in the past few weeks is something called the Village to Village Network. And I've been doing some research in it and have found it's a national organization, but the villages operate pretty independently. Some of you have probably heard of Beacon Hill Village, which was one of the first actually in Massachusetts. And it's not specifically about housing, it's about resources for people, for seniors particularly. And I don't want to take up a lot of airtime right now, but I was thinking about just putting out to you guys an opportunity to, if you wanted to, get together. And Christina, I know we could do early evening or something like that if you and Julie, if you wanted to do that, just to talk about it and for me to share the information. And it's something I've started to think about, like, do I have the bandwidth to kind of take it on? It doesn't have to be attached to the senior center. It would be, but it's a network, it's a membership networking group for transportation, which is also one of our problems, right? I mean, the senior center does what they can do, but this is a quarried, vetted driver network of volunteer drivers. There's also food referrals. There's also some social events, socialization, which, as we heard last month in our loneliness and report, you know, that's a real big issue. And we've got the senior center, but could there be more? A variety of things. And I'd just love to talk about it more and share some of the information that I have found to bring it to the forefront. The last thing I'll say right now is that I have a sister who lives in Rhinebeck, New York. And she's actually how I got interested most recently, because she had an accident and lives by herself and is in need of transportation. She can't drive right now. And she has some good friends, thank goodness, and a strong church community. So she's getting her rides, but she discovered that Rhinebeck, New York, has a village. They have a name for it. And I found Swampscott has one. There's a couple there's quite a few in Massachusetts, not too many around us. But there's one in Cambridge. Cambridge has one that covers Arlington, Belmont. Anyway, so I would love to extend an invitation to chat.
Yeah, that sounds
Love
pretty
to
amazing.
chat. Sounds great. It's kind of like what they have in, you know, if you live in a 55+ community and
Yeah,
they
yeah.
have a network where people help you get rides and do meals when you're sick. And it's sort of creating that. I wasn't that familiar with it. That's a great idea.
But for people who live, you know, alone, or people who live in
Yeah.
apartments and houses and by themselves, I mean, you know, you don't have that network built in, right? You don't have, and
Right.
call the senior center for a medical ride or a grocery shop ride or some other ride, but there's capacity limits there too.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. And it's tricky because we don't go to Boston, and so much because we're so fortunate to be so close to Boston. So much specialty stuff may be in Boston, so it's a helpful
Yeah.
way to expand the window of places people could go. I think
Yeah.
it sounds great.
And I thank you for that. I've been getting excited about it, actually. So, okay.
I hope your sister makes a quick recovery, Susan.
Yeah, she's doing pretty well. She's gonna be able to, she broke her shoulder. She fell. She just tripped on a sidewalk and broke her shoulder, but did quite a number on it. So she's, you know, I think next week she's gonna get permission to drive, so that will help considerably, but thank you, yeah. And that's, you know, that's minor in the scheme of things. There are people that can never get out or don't have the ability to drive, right? That can never, or grocery shop or whatever they need to do, as we know. Okay, thank you, Karen, for that. And, you know, we're in the boat rowing, not as hard as you are, but we are in the boat rowing with you. So whatever we
No,
can.
I appreciate it. I think that's great to have people on board to help. The more of us who can help try and solve this problem and make it as easy as possible for people, the better.
Great. Okay, we have the May 2024 minutes to look at or to approve. May 8th was our last meeting.
There were two changes, one that Susan noted that I didn't change the March to May at the top. And then when I was glancing through, I found that I had spelled respondents incorrectly, so I fixed that. Those are just technical things, not content. But like to know if there was any content that you think needs to be amended.
I think they're good. I make a motion, we accept the minutes as revised with those two changes.
I'll second.
Julie second, all in favor? Aye.
I,
Aye. I just have a question about something that isn't, do you know if Catherine Dinger's been replaced, Karen? Or do you know what the plan is for follow-up on this report?
And the hiring process is starting now. I know they're
Okay,
interviewing.
so there's a vacancy right now.
There's a vacancy. It's advertised right now, and I know interviews are
Yeah, I
starting.
saw it posted a while back, but okay, I just wondered what was gonna happen. And how about town council? Have you heard anything about a town council liaison to our group?
I've not heard. Actually, that's a good point. I should reach out to them to see who our new liaison
Yeah,
is.
okay, thank you. Okay, and the financial report came 2 months. Oh, thanks for getting May to us. That was a nice surprise, Karen.
Yes,
April,
you were not in the very beginning of the month, so I had the EOM in
a
time to
little
do it.
extra time, yeah. So did everybody have a chance to at least know they got it?
mhm.
I have a couple questions. I have to confess, I'm kind of a spreadsheet nerd, so please, pardon me if my questions seem nerd-like, which they
It's a
will.
good skill set to bring, Carol. Thank you.
The first one is where it says personal services. Is that personnel services? I'm assuming it is. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's how it's
Because-
listed on the.
What's
um,
that?
That's how it's listed on our budget too, though. So that's why it's like it's not a typo. It's listed that way in our budget.
In your
Really?
budget is, because I thought, gee, somebody's getting lots of massages or something for 200 grand.
And I'm gonna
That
double
was-
check before.
And then my other two just quick questions. One is if there's any remaining money, does it carry over to the next year or not? Or it goes back to a
No.
general fund?
It goes back to the town. I'm looking at with the May, I'm looking at where we have extra money though, because I want to order a few things for our upstairs that I'll just store. Since the upstairs was approved, but we don't have funding really to furnish the upstairs, so I'm gonna do a little bit of shopping with some of the money that we
With
have
some of
left
the
over
money.
within reason of what we can spend it on. But like we'll need a little sofa for upstairs for our lounge area, so I may order one of those because they have enough money to order that. But typically the rest of it goes back to town.
But do you
I'm not
also,
giving back very much this year because we had some maintenance we had to do on both vehicles, so that cost more than we were expecting. So I'm giving them not back as much as I did last year.
I do understand that, you know, any money from that's in the general budget voted on by the town does not roll over. But do we also have a grant account or a donations account that constantly rolls over?
The formula grant rolls over. That's from the state for the $14 for every person who identifies as 16 over. That money does roll over. We spend a lot of that, but that rolls over. And then our donations and
Yeah,
revolving account, the activities, the account that we use for activities that I deposit money into to use to keep doing other activities, that carries over, and the gifts carry over. It's just the town budget
The
specific.
town money, okay.
And
Got it.
what you actually get the report on for the most part, that's the one that doesn't carry over.
Okay.
And then just a quick request, on the programs and the classes, is it possible to split that column and put the prior year? Because it's hard to like compare January to July because they're so different. So a lot of times in the past, when I'm looking at numbers like that, I look at it both against the month in that calendar year or that fiscal year, but also the prior year to see what's changed. So for example, in May, there were 1,648 visits. What were they in May of 2023? Now, I guess if you all have those reports, you can go back and look at them, but I don't know if that would be useful. I was thinking about I had the pleasure of Karen's company for a tour and saw all the amazing things they were doing, and I'm not sure that this captures that growth if you can't see it against the prior year,
Month to month, same month, yeah.
same month.
So
Yeah.
the only trick with the numbers, and maybe I could try and figure out how to for the new fiscal year add I can definitely do that or try and figure out a way to make it easier to see. But the only trick with the numbers is the numbers can sometimes flex on, for example, one of our very popular exercise instructors has been out a bit the past 6 weeks because of something going on. So some of our numbers are going to be lower because that exercise class canceled. So
Yeah,
we're offering as much as ever, but when one class gets canceled for 3 weeks, that may bring your numbers down by 100 people.
yeah.
So I don't
got it.
know if I should try and add something to say like the number of events or activities that we offered, or I don't know the best. And this we could modify this if people want to. This is what I inherited. And so we've been doing it.
Absolutely.
But if
It's
there's
really about
other
how to
ways
give
do it.
you credit for the work that you're doing and the growth that there probably is. And because when I think about, who might come in August, it's different than who comes in December. So if there's a change in that month, it doesn't mean as much as it does last December to this December. But I love your column that there's a column there like closed for the holidays or something where maybe that same kind of notation like the instructor of the popular fitness class was out for 6 weeks or something. It's not critical. I really don't want to add to your work. Just at some point, if this gets redesigned, it would maybe give you credit for all that you're doing.
No, that makes, yeah, that's good input. I'll play around with it and see. And hopefully when I get to my director's report part, I can share that we are far along in the process of finding our new full-time clerical / activities director. So there's light at the end of the tunnel for having time to do things. So I may have more time to work on something like that and figure out, hey, because even when I do the report, sometimes I think, well, this is very general. How can we make it more meaningful so that I can see where is it spreading out? Like I probably need to start separating exercise classes from activities versus what kinds of things we're doing. So I'll work on it to see if I can figure out a way to get a little bit more meaningful data instead of just raw numbers.
Does the scanner, when somebody scans in and they say they're there for exercise or lunch or whatever they're there for, can you just pull a report from that data?
Yeah, that's where we get it. Miriam pulls typically for me the data from my senior center, and then I just
Okay,
put it all together. So there's definitely more we can do, and I'll talk to some of the other directors to see what they report to their boards, because they may do something totally different, and they may do something that we would benefit from. So I'll ask around to some of the other directors to see what they do from my senior center.
thank you. Yeah, good question, Carol. I have a question also about the veteran column. And I'm assuming that those are people that come in specifically for appointments with veteran services. Is that correct?
Yes.
So
I think we
that
started
doesn't-
doing that with him to show like, hey, people are coming into
Yeah.
the senior center to see Dave.
So that doesn't necessarily show how many veterans across the board are coming into the center for anything, right? I
No,
mean,
we don't track that demographic. That's not something we ask people to identify as.
so what about, when people sign up to become a member of the center? The questionnaire, it's very general information, as I recall. It's like, who are you, where do you live, what's your phone number, what's your email?
Yeah,
Right,
we basically just date of birth, address, emergency contact phone number. And it's fairly basic. We don't track a lot of demographic data, or we don't ask people if they're a veteran. I mean, if they need help when they come in, we ask them if they're a veteran.
Yeah,
But if
yeah,
they
yeah,
come into
yeah.
the center, we don't.
Okay. Yeah, I just,
So it's fairly simple because you come in as a new person. It's only 3 minutes to fill out your paperwork,
right,
sign
right,
the waiver,
right.
and then in the system.
Yeah, I don't want to make that too complicated, I know, okay. But okay, so, can I have a motion to accept the financials, the April and May financial reports, or are there more questions? Sherry, is that a question?
I
or-
make a motion to accept the April and May financial reports.
Second, don't be shy.
I'll second. I'll
Thank
second.
Julie, second, all in favor? Okay,
Aye.
Aye.
thank you. And the same motion or a similar motion for the program report acceptance?
Motion to accept.
Julie is motioning to accept. I think Christina wanted to motion to second. I saw this, you smile.
Second.
All
There you
right,
go.
all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, thank you for getting it to us, Karen, really, and it's helpful to give numbers to the life, even though the life itself is people and their participation, but to see these numbers is very encouraging.
And I did just confirm it's personal services on the town budget sheets.
That's
So I
weird.
keep it that way. I was starting to doubt myself. I'm like, oh, do I just really have a typo in there and it's wrong? But it matches what the budget sheet is.
Well, I think somebody ought to
We're
bring
good.
that to the attention of the town, whatever he's called, the town, the person in charge.
Yeah,
Steve,
most
yeah.
personal services are like lunch out with
Yeah.
Right.
Haircut,
And in Wakefield, the many places you can get your nails done.
right, exactly. Yeah. Kind of weird.
That's a great idea, Sherry. If we could turn nail salons into housing, we could solve the problem. We do have a lot of them.
Yes,
We sure do.
I
Right.
obviously do not add to their coffers.
Right.
Well, they still all seem to stay in business though. But, okay, thank you all. All right, so financial director's report. Karen, you're up again.
So as I shared, we are far along in the process of our hiring. So hope at the next meeting, I'll probably send an email sooner to when we're able to finish the process to share with you who the new candidate will be and welcome you to the center to come and meet the person. So that's exciting. We're starting working on summer programming, and big exciting news is that I reached out to the school to see if they would be willing to let us borrow a van or a bus to do some field trips this summer, and they've agreed. So that's
Oh,
great news because now it doesn't impact we were really struggling to find days that we could do field trips because we have a few different riders who need the lift because they're in a chair of some sort. So I didn't want to take away from their ability to come to the senior center or to take them to medical appointments. But the van, we can't take the car on a field trip. So that is great news. We can use the school van for field trips. We have one person who needs the lift that would like to go on a field trip. So we'll give her first choice of which one she wants to, and that will just be the smaller one with our van. But great news that the school is partnering with us to let us do that. Our drivers are all capable of driving those. So very exciting. So we're going to plan 5 or 6 field trips for the summer. Those are always popular. We have we're just now working on it, but we're going to have a couple of barbecues that will be free or low cost. Mystic Valley's is just a suggested $2 donation. In Windrose of Woburn is going to sponsor a barbecue. We're going to partner with Stoneham so we can go over to their center because they have much better outdoor space than we do and do a partnered event. We share a lot of the same participants, so it'll be a nice big event that's free for them, and it will be a catered barbecue.
You have a date on that yet, by any chance?
I do. That's August. The Windrose one is August 21st.
I'm sorry,
Next week,
August 21st is what?
a free barbecue in
Oh.
partnership with Stoneham.
Oh,
So more program to come out as soon as they have the draft of the newsletter. I'll send it to everyone. The summer, we don't try and do a ton of the educational stuff because honestly, the numbers are usually lower in the summer. We don't have people are just off and about doing things. Next week, June wraps up our STIG grant that we've had for the past 6 months. So we're finishing up. We had our first ever memory cafe today. It was well attended. We had probably 10 people there, which I think is great for memory cafe. The performers were amazing. Everybody enjoyed it. So we really have been building some of our dementia care programming. Our caregiver support group has consistently had 5 or 6 people attending, and they bring their loved ones. We provide the care. We're going to continue that even at the end of the grant. Mystic Valley is going to pay for the care once we move past that while they still have some grant funding. So Carol, what we do is we have a caregiver support group twice a month, and we offer care for the loved one during the caregiver support group. And they've decided to all be downstairs in the dining room. So the caregivers are on one side of the dining room meeting, and then we have their loved ones on the other side of the dining room doing activities. Mystic Valley has been bringing in an artist, and they do some amazing things. And it's been a great way for people to come out who normally couldn't come out. They used to be on separate floors. We moved them down to the dining room because some people come that had a loved one who was just too nervous not to be able to see their caregiver. This way they can see the caregiver, but there's plenty of space for privacy. So the caregivers can still freely talk and feel comfortable getting the support they need while their loved one still feels safe and can see them. At the end of the month, we're going to stop, but until now we've offered extended care that if somebody wanted to go and do an errand or something, they could afterwards. Where that funding is going to go away with the grant. So we're not going to offer extended care anymore, but we are going to continue to offer the care. And I believe that we're the only one around that's offering care. So it's a cool thing to be able to offer. We're pretty proud of that.
Yeah.
And we're going to continue memory cafes, I think, once a quarter. So our next one is going to be in September. And so those have been some exciting things working with dementia planning or dementia services. We have Patrick Curley is coming in next week, and he's going to give he gave a daytime talk already. He's giving an evening talk at 6 p.m. on Monday, talking about legal considerations, but it really is, we had planned it as part of dementia planning, but it really is good advice for anybody, not even just somebody with dementia, or it talks about estate planning and just general things. It was really well received, his presentation. So that is going to be on Monday night at 6 p.m. so that we can that's open to all ages so that people have concerns about their parents or even themselves can come in.
He's going to talk about setting up trusts and that kind of stuff as well. Do you think? Good.
Yeah. He was The daytime one, it went over an hour. He was very engaging. People were asking questions. He was very responsive. So I think it'll be worth people's time. So that again, that's 6 p.m. And at the end of the month, we have our, well, I'm hoping we need to, if you want to help push this event, we have our first ever Pride event on Wednesday, June 26th. It's going to be from 6 to 8 p.m. We're serving appetizers and mocktails. Our cooking class is going to actually make some of the appetizers, and then we'll supplement with some additional. I haven't gotten a lot of signups yet, so Jen McDonald just helped me get some posters. She made some posters for us, so we're going to do an advertising blitz to hopefully get some people to sign up. And it's for 55 and over, and it's for like friends, allies, supporters, people who identify as LGBTQ. So it's for everybody, but we're hoping that we get a good crowd. I think Jen was going to share it with Human Rights, Sherry, to see if you guys would send it out to your sources or your network.
Do you have a flyer you can send to me directly? Because I can put it up on the Facebook page like right away. And,
yes,
and
I can,
a couple of times.
Yeah, I'll send it to you before I leave tonight.
Okay. And you said Wednesday, June 26th.
26th.
Right. Okay. And the time?
That is from 6 to 8 p.m.
And
if anybody ever has an idea of a program you'd like us to offer, please definitely let me know, because we are always looking for ideas. I was talking during my interviews with the candidates about one thing that I want them to help work on is how do we capture those people that we're not getting? Like we have the exercisers, we have people who come to our educational classes, but we're trying to find some things that even if it's just somebody who comes in once a month for something, what can that be? We have the people who like to come in and eat, and we have the people who come in and exercise and like cards and stuff, but we know we're missing some people and we don't know, is there something we could be offering that brings them in? And sometimes it is something like the legal discussions or the MBTA discussion brought a lot of new people in. So what could we do to maybe bring people in to introduce them to services that we have or see what they want that we're not offering? And when we have our new space above, it's going to be much easier to do that because we're not going to have to be shifting people around so much. There's space that they could stay and linger and talk.
If I can just share, when I left our meeting, Karen, that you and I had about a month ago, as I was leaving, a woman who self-identified as Chinese came up to me and said, my daughter told me to come here. What do I do? So I talked to her for a little bit, and she was going to go in, but it got me thinking about two things. One is outreach to people from other cultures and who may have language issues that make it hard for them. And I'm new, so maybe you already do this. And then the second group, we talked about this a little bit, was for people with sensory issues, like people with hearing loss or hearing issues, people with low vision. And is the center set up for them so that they feel comfortable to come? So those were the things that I was thinking about. And I am still working on trying to help Beth potentially get a social work student to help expand her reach. It's hard to get in touch with the schools now because they're on break, but.
Mm-hmm.
I
I'm very excited about that.
One of the biggest.
What's that?
I'm super excited about the possibility of having that social worker intern here. I think it would be amazing to have that extra because we only have about 3 hours a day. 4 days.
You're looking
week.
for a collegiate intern? Someone in
Probably
college?
a social work graduate student, someone in an MSW program.
Yeah, I know Merrimack College just launched that program, so
Oh,
they'd
really?
probably be looking to send
For
their
field
interns
placements?
places.
Oh,
Yeah, I would
great.
assume.
Either I or somebody with an LICSW would have to supervise that person. That's the challenge. So it will be, if I have the time, could I supervise somebody? Would they let that be even if I wasn't on site all the time? That's going to be the field placement issue. But I would guess that people are anxious for there to be field placement sites, and maybe it could be flexible and we could do some things remotely or whatever. So, because when you were talking about that great idea earlier, Karen, about the roommate matching service, which is a great idea. Like I've got a big house and an extra room. I thought, wow, what a great social work intern project that is to get something like that up and going.
Sherry, you were gonna ask a question or make a comment?
Actually, I was, and I'm guilty of this as well. One of the biggest challenges we have is people who say, oh, I'm not old, so why would I go to the senior center?
Right.
I mean, when I first came to the senior center, I came just to get my MBTA pass. And I looked around, and that particular day, the place seemed to be filled with people who had canes and walkers. And everybody knows I'm like really super, I was a gym rat, I'm an exercise person, and I'm 73, but I'm very, very active and very physical. And so I've been trying to use that to convince people that it's not just for old people.
Mm.
You know, they have to understand. I mean, 60 is like the new 50, you know, so they have to understand there's so many people at the senior center, and I've met so many of them who are really vigorous and just, Karen, you see them every day. They're just terrific. And I go to actually 3 different senior centers for activities because I'm so sold on the senior center concept. So those of us, we also have to be ambassadors, all of us, so that people understand that a senior center, and I know there's been some talk about trying to change the term senior services to something else, mature adults or whatever it is. But I mean, I think we should wear that is a badge of pride that we've reached this point in our lives and maturity, and we're still vigorous, but we have to be real ambassadors, because I think, like I said, one of the biggest roadblocks, and I come across it all the time, is, oh, I'm not old, I wouldn't go to a senior center.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Artist Senior Living had these cool bumper stickers that we got, or these cool car magnets that I have to figure out if it's copyrighted or if we could make our own version or copy it. But I think it said, my grandma's social life would put yours to shame, or it said something like that, that it was super fun. We always get comments on it from our participants. So we were talking about we should come up with our own clever little take on that, spin on that, and put McCarthy Senior Center in the bottom so we can get some free advertising on people's car magnets.
Yeah.
Do you need volunteers for the 26th? I know I had asked you. Do you need any help?
It depends if I have 5 people sign up or if I have 30. So I may have to let you know. Right now I have 0 people signed up, so I don't need help. But I'm hoping that changes, and I need help.
Because
Keep us posted on all the summer programming too, what you need.
and Human Rights Commission, of which I'm a member and have been for a long time now, is very shorthanded this year, but we just had a very wonderful, joyous Pride celebration at the America last week. And we have a meeting next week. And if you're going to possibly need volunteers, I will ask the other commissioners if they would like to help out with this.
Or even just 10, it's for anybody, right? I mean, right, Karen?
Yeah.
It's for anybody that's
Yes.
To
supportive.
support it would be nice, to have the people there to support. I mean, I think 3 or 4 of us are easily going to be able to manage getting the appetizer set up, and my chef is going to be there to help us, and he's fabulous. But it'd be nice to be able to have a good showing there and have support, and people, people can step up and help if they need to, but mostly just to be there to show our support as the town for a town event.
Also, you may want to definitely get in touch with Reverend Matthew Johnson at the Episcopal Church, who is very, very tied into the gay community. He's married to his partner is male, he's married. And they were quite the presence on Pride Day, members of his congregation. And I think he would be a good person to reach out to, the clergy council in general, but I think Matthew in particular.
Okay, thank you. That's a good idea. I'll send him over the flyer and introduce myself.
Yeah. Great suggestions.
One more thing that we're excited about. So I shared that the SIG grants are closing out, so we did well, but within it, we purchased the dishwasher for the kitchen, and we were able to purchase a new refrigerator. But when I was working with them on the refrigerator, they had reached out and asked if we needed anything else, because there was some extra money that other towns didn't use. So I was able to secure us an extra $6,700 to replace. We ordered a new gas stove for the kitchen. The current one, anybody who's been in the kitchen knows, has some issues. Always has a super strong gas smell. Burners are always like lights are going out, burners aren't working. It's really old. So we're getting rid of the big old stove and we are getting a new one. So we're pretty excited about that. It's a nice one. It's a 6 burner, so it can still fit full sheet trays. So it's good for catering when Mystic Valley's there or when we cater. It'd be a little bit smaller, which will be nice for our cooking classes. There'll be a little more room to get around. And it'll be brand new. So that was exciting that we were able to get the extra funding. So that made our nutrition and innovations grant just over $15,000 that we got from grant funding. And then we had the other almost $9,000 from the dementia friendly. So that was exciting.
That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you. But I think that's mostly it. I'll send everybody the summer programming once we have it. If you ever have any ideas, let us know. In the fall, we want to bring back in Blue Cross Blue Shield to talk about Medicare Advantage plans. We try and ramp up as we get into the fall and getting into open enrollment season.
Open enrollment, yeah.
And then
Does
any other idea.
Is Maureen Howlett definitely finishing June 30th? Will she be there till then?
I think she's going to stay the first 2 weeks of July. And
Okay.
then she's off on vacation. So we're going to do a little, I have to look at my calendar. We're going to do cake for her on July 11th at bingo, her final bingo. But so July 11th will be her last day. And she'll be local. She's actually going to do some volunteering in the senior center. She'll come back and call like occasional bingo, and she's going to do a book club over the summer, I think.
Oh, she is.
So
I was wondering about the book club because I got a notice about the July book club, and I'm thinking, well, Maureen's not going to be there, so I know
she's actually still an employee for the July book club, and then I think they're going to decide if they want to do August or not. It's the same group of for the most part, the same group of women who come to the book club. So she's going to check and see. But yet, we'll do a little going away party for her at bingo on July 11th.
All right. So
I asked her if she wanted it during bingo or if she wanted it at a different time. So it'll be before bingo starts. We'll have cake for her.
Okay.
Because we can't delay bingo too much because we have to give people rides home after bingo.
I forget about the bingo. Well, I think back to what Sherry's point, and we all agree, to a certain extent on what the reputation of quote unquote senior centers are. That bingo is one of those things, I have to say, that sort of attaches itself to that reputation. But at the same time, it's a very social and high level of interest activity, right? I mean, people come, they want to come. It's a good activity. It's a good activity for people to be involved with, but we have to be ambassadors for there's more than bingo. There's more than bingo.
Right. We just started horse racing, so that's been fun so far. We can market the horse racing.
That sounds fun. Okay. Any questions for Karen? Anything or comments? Okay, I last time we did vote to accept your report, Karen, so I guess we can continue that tradition. So
I don't think we accept my report. We accept I think we are separating it to do the budget/programming report and then the director's report. I think we talked about not doing that as an accepting thing since I'm not officially giving you anything written as a
right,
report.
you're not. Okay, then I'm in favor of skipping over that. All right. What matters not anticipated. Do you all want to meet in July as a regular meeting, July and August, or would you be okay with skipping or meeting next in September? Or anybody have any feelings one way or another about any of that? I do want to go, I am going to invite you to a village to village discussion. I would like to do that. And Karen, I'd like to talk to you more about it. It doesn't necessarily have to be attached to the senior center, but it might be something that the senior center might want to be involved with. And there is a membership fee, which I'm almost willing to pay myself. I pretty much decided I'm going to join to find out what it's all about, because you can go to trainings and get materials and stuff. And I think I'm just going to join myself. But, after that, there's anyway. So I do want to take that a little further and see what that's all about. But and you'll still be working, Carol, on the social worker and the
Right, that probably won't be till August.
I know
or
it'll be more
September
like
for
in
that,
the
but the housing piece, I will definitely look into what we might be able to join.
okay. Or maybe, how about if we agree, well, if we could meet in July, then Maureen could talk to us about housing, and I think that would be good actually to finish that up now that I'm saying this. But not meet in August.
I was just gonna say, I already know I'm on
Sounds good.
vacation that week in August.
In
not that
August,
My
okay.
schedule needs to determine everything, but
Well, you're an important person, Julie. Yes, it does.
oh,
All right, so
And I
that
bet
would,
you don't get lots of vacations, do you, Julie? I'm just guessing. So it's really important.
yeah. So July would be July 10th.
July 10th.
Everybody good with that date? Christina, you
Yes.
good with that date? Okay. And Karen, when are you going on? Are you going on vacation in the summer?
Yes, I can't remember when. July, but I think that weekend, so I'll be here for the 10th.
Okay. Yeah,
I
well,
head out
Maureen's
well.
party's the next day, so you'll probably be there for that. All right, well, I'm gonna answer my own question. I'm gonna call a meeting for July 10th. No meeting in August. And then we'll meet in September again, but July 10th.
I think that's what we did last year. We took August off, but we met in June and July.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
Sherry, but you got any big trips planned?
Well, we just bought a teardrop camper.
Oh,
So
fun.
it's, I don't know if you know what a tab is, but it's a pretty cool looking thing. It's in my driveway. It's very compact, but it has everything inside, kitchen, bathroom, shower. And we always go to festivals and we usually camp in a tent. So this year we're going to be camping in luxury. But we also are hoping to make a couple of trips up to Canada to visit family. But first we have to get instructions on how to operate the heating, the cooling, the air conditioning, the electrical systems and everything. It's registered. We just don't know how to do more than just sleep in it at this point. So,
you'll learn.
yes, yeah, so that's exciting.
That's
But
fun.
we took
That's
two
fun.
big trips in this last year, so there's no foreign travel other than Canada, but I mean really overseas travel for our next couple of years until we pay off the trips we took this year.
No, I'm glad you
They
took
were
them.
biggies, yeah.
Christina, you gonna be around? You taking vacation?
Yeah, I too have a camper, so I have a seasonal spot in Maine, so I go up there every weekend. And it is it always has you learning something new, so it's an adventure for sure to own a camper. And then I'm gonna take a week and go to Canada as well. So looking forward to it.
That sounds fun. That sounds all good. Okay, and Carol, you're as a new retiree, I'm taking a poll here. I hope you know.
Every day is vacation, right? When I
Yes.
want to
Yes,
go on
it is.
vacation, I said, why? We're on vacation now, so
Yeah,
for those of you who aren't retired, it's worth working towards. So we will be around August. July is much better for me too. August,
okay.
one of our grandchildren, his name is Charlie, and every year we take him we call it a charcation, where he comes for a week and his parents, my son and his wife, go away. So we have charcation.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
That gives the parents a break too, and
Yeah,
special time with
exactly.
grandparents, yeah.
Mhm.
That's really fun. Okay, so July 10th, we will meet, and anything else before somebody makes a motion to adjourn?
Nice job, Karen. Keep it up. Really nice job.
Great
Thank
work.
you.
Great
Thank
job.
you to all of you. I appreciate the support.
Proud to be here. Attached to
Come to
you,
Pride.
Karen.
Come to
Okay,
the Pride event on the 26th.
I will make a motion to adjourn at 7:35 PM.
Okay.
a second.
I will second it for my
Oh,
first,
okay.
second.
Okay, all in favor?
Hi.
Yes,
And you look out the window and it's still bright daylight or sort of bright daylight, so that's
Yeah.
wonderful. I love it.
and I have my husband's bluegrass band right now rehearsing in the garden behind us, so
Oh, fun.
Oh, very fun.
yeah. So I'm going out to listen to them for a while.
Oh, that'll be nice. Have a glass of wine or something while you're out there. Yeah,
Yes, now that our meeting is over, official, I can have a glass of
you
wine.
can have a glass of wine.
Okay.
Okay, have a good week, everyone.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
everyone.
Well.